Arrogance is empty noise. It shouts, pushes, and boasts, but behind it always hides fragility. Whoever needs to impose themselves with arrogance demonstrates unwittingly that they have no control over themselves. And there lies the difference. The man who controls himself never needs to raise his voice, because his mere presence is enough to command respect. Facing an arrogant person does not mean stooping to their level or responding with the same aggression. That is the mistake many make. They believe that winning is shouting louder or showing who has the last word. The truth is that in that battle there are no winners, just two people losing their calm. Stoicism teaches another route, a firmer and more powerful one, to remain master of yourself while the other crumbles in their excesses. Arrogance is nothing more than a disguise of insecurity. When you understand this, you change the focus. You no longer see an enemy, you see someone who is trying to fill their void by projecting greatness. This does not mean that you allow it. It means that you confront it with intelligence, serenity, and character. The strength is not in the confrontation, but in the mastery of oneself. In this video, you will discover 8 Stoic practices that you can apply in your day-to-day life to disarm arrogance without falling into its game. These are not ancient theories, they are living lessons, direct psychological strategies that will turn each provocation into an opportunity to demonstrate mettle. Here you will learn how to gain respect without raising your voice, how to protect your inner peace even amidst provocation, and how to make calmness your most powerful weapon. Stay, because what follows is not simple philosophy, it is a manual to become unbreakable. 1. Acknowledge without yielding. A solid wall doesn't need to shout to prove its strength, it simply stands while everything around it wears down. This is the first Stoic practice. Acknowledge without yielding. When you face someone arrogant, the first thing they try is to push you to react, to make you lose control and trap you in their territory. They throw harsh words, quick judgments, or haughty attitudes at you with the sole purpose of seeing you wobble. But a wall doesn't wobble with a simple gust of wind, and in the same way, you shouldn't move just because someone seeks to impose on you with noise. Acknowledging is not surrendering, it's accepting that the other person has the right to think differently, but without allowing that to alter your center. When someone arrogant speaks, they want you to feel small, to respond with the same poison, and then accuse you of being just like them. Acknowledging without yielding means looking them in the eye, listening to what they say, and responding from your security. You're not obliged to win an argument, nor to prove that you know more. The goal is different. To maintain your dignity intact and show that nothing they say can throw you off balance. Arrogance feeds on confrontation, and when you don't give it that energy, it slowly wears down. This doesn't mean you should always remain silent, but that you learn to pick your battles. Acknowledging can be as simple as saying, "I understand your point, even though I don't share it." That short sentence disarms the arrogant because they find neither direct resistance nor submission. You're showing them that you know how to set boundaries, that you can respect their opinion without setting aside your own. That's maturity, that's firmness, and at the same time, it's a silent declaration of power. Your peace is not for sale. The Stoics taught that no one can harm you without your consent. Arrogance only hurts if you open the door to it. Acknowledging without yielding is closing that entrance. It's making the other person understand that their way of inflating their ego will have no impact on your serenity. And this practice applies not only with strangers or authoritarian bosses, but also at home, with friends, and even with family. We've all had someone close who tries to impose themselves with superiority. But when you learn to acknowledge without yielding, you start to transform the relationship. Let's take a clear example. You're in a meeting and someone tries to ridicule your ideas. Instead of falling into the game and responding harshly, you simply acknowledge their opinion. What you say is valid. I see it differently. That response is a wall. It's not weakness, it's control. You're making it clear that you're not going to submit, but you're also not going to feed a useless conflict. And the best part is that the people around don't see someone who lost their cool. They see someone who maintains their firmness with serenity. That generates respect, even more than any shout. The key is to understand that acknowledging is not giving away power. It's demonstrating that you possess it. Whoever truly dominates doesn't need to defend themselves from every attack because they know that their value doesn't depend on the approval of others. Acknowledging without yielding is the first Stoic lesson to face arrogance, and it's the foundation upon which you'll build all the others. Because once you understand that your calm is stronger than any provocation, no wall of words can bring you down. 2. Transform the attack into reflection. The mirror never returns blows, it only reflects the image of the one who looks at it. This is how this Stoic practice works, transforming the attack into reflection. When an arrogant person throws words loaded with venom, what they are looking for is to generate an immediate reaction, to provoke you, to take you to their territory where aggression rules. But the Stoic knows that every attack is, in reality, a reflection of the other's insecurity. Instead of responding with anger, you turn that moment into a space for observation and learning. Arrogance cannot stand reflective silence. It is designed to provoke noise, and when it comes across someone who does not return the same energy, it gets confused. This is where your attitude makes the difference. Breathe, listen, and pause for a moment before responding. That small space is not weakness, it is strategy. By doing so, you send a clear message. You control your response, not the arrogant one. The practical advice is to apply what the Stoics called conscious pause. When someone attacks you, instead of reacting immediately, count internally to 3 or even to 5. Use that moment to observe what happens within you. Do you feel anger? Do you feel the desire to respond harshly? Do you feel the urge to defend yourself? Recognizing these emotions does not mean giving them control. It means mastering them. By observing them, you begin to transform them. Another strategy is to return the provocation with a question. When an arrogant person attacks you saying, "What you say makes no sense," you can calmly respond, "Which part exactly do you not agree with?" That simple question changes the game because it forces the other to argue instead of attack. You are taking their aggression and transforming it into a space for analysis, into a conversation where you set the pace. You can also use the technique of genuine curiosity. Instead of seeing the attack as an offense, see it as an opportunity to understand the other. Your point is interesting. Why do you see it that way? Suddenly, the provocation becomes dialogue, and arrogance begins to lose strength because it no longer finds a rival, but a wall of serenity that redirects it towards something more productive. It is not about agreeing with them, it is about showing that their energy cannot move yours. It is important to remember that you will not always have to respond with words. Sometimes it is enough to maintain firm eye contact, without hatred, without fear, just confidence. The arrogant one is used to destabilizing, and when they meet someone who looks at them calmly and invites them to reflect with their presence, they lose the power of their attack. That serenity is a much stronger blow than any aggressive response. Think of each attack as an opportunity for growth. Stoicism is not about avoiding difficulties, but about using them as training. Every time an arrogant person tries to provoke you and you choose to reflect instead of react, you are strengthening your character. It's like an emotional gym. Each provocation is a weight that, when lifted calmly, makes you stronger. Transforming the attack into reflection is turning a hostile moment into a lesson. It's not about winning the argument, it's about gaining control over yourself. Remember, a mirror never returns blows, it returns clarity. And when you manage to reflect serenity in the midst of an attack, You not only disarm the arrogant one, you also inspire respect in those who observe. Because true power is not demonstrated with shouts, it is demonstrated with self-control. 3. Master with silence. The noise of a storm always seems unstoppable, but in the end, what really endures is the calm air that remains afterward. The same happens with arguments. Arrogance seeks to be a storm, but the calm of silence is what makes the real difference. Mastering with silence does not mean being silent out of fear or hiding behind passivity. It means using the absence of words as a strategic weapon that disarms the other and keeps you in control. The arrogant person needs you to react, to answer, to enter their confrontation game. Their energy depends on yours, and if they don't get it, they weaken. Silence breaks their video because it finds no resistance to measure itself against. Here, the practical advice is to learn to be silent with intention, not with resignation. This implies holding the gaze, maintaining an upright posture, and letting the other wear themselves out with their own noise. Silence becomes a statement. You don't move me. The first step to apply this practice is to train your mind in everyday situations. The next time someone tries to provoke with a sarcastic comment, breathe and keep silent for a few seconds before responding. That space not only cools the situation, but it also sends a clear message. You're not going to react as they expect. Many times after that silence, you'll realize that you don't even need to respond, because the attack loses weight by itself. Another way to use silence is to accompany it with a controlled gesture. It could be a slight smile, a serene nod, or even a simple crossing of arms that indicates firmness. Those small gestures, accompanied by silence, generate more impact than any speech. The arrogant person doesn't know how to interpret that void of words, and that confusion puts them in a position of weakness. However, mastering with silence also requires discernment. It's not about always being silent, but about choosing when silence is more powerful than the word. In long discussions, speaking less and listening more can be a lethal strategy. You listen to everything the other person says, analyze it, and when you finally speak, you do so with few words, but loaded with meaning. That contrast makes your message weigh more than all the previous noise. The most practical advice is to train yourself in normal conversations. When someone asks you something or makes a provocative comment, wait a couple of seconds before responding. That pause trains you not to be a slave to immediacy. Gradually, you will learn that silence is not uncomfortable, but strengthens your presence. And when you use it in front of an arrogant person, the impact will be much greater because they won't see it coming. The Stoics understood that it is not necessary to react to everything that is said. The mind strengthens when it learns not to be dragged by empty words. Silence is that filter that separates what deserves attention from what only seeks provocation. Instead of wasting energy on meaningless arguments, you choose to save it for what really matters. Remember that arrogance feeds on confrontation. Every word you throw out in anger is more fuel for the bonfire. On the other hand, when you choose silence, the fire goes out by itself. In the end, silence is not emptiness, it is pure presence. It shows that you don't need to shout or argue to be strong, because your strength stands alone. Mastering with silence is a lesson in character. Whoever controls their words controls the situation. 4. Remember that every opinion is relative. Two people can look at the same sky and one say it's a grey day, while the other asserts it's full of light. The difference is not in the sky, but in the eyes that observe it. That's how opinions work. They are personal filters that depend on experience, character, and even the mood of the person expressing them. When you understand this, arrogance loses its power, because you discover that what others say is not an absolute truth, but only their limited way of seeing the world. The arrogant person presents themselves as the owner of the truth, speaks with excessive confidence, and tries to impose their vision as if it were law. but what they really expose is their need to control how others think. The Stoic advice here is clear. Do not confuse an opinion with a fact. When an arrogant person asserts something, remind yourself internally that it is just their perspective, not a universal sentence. This simple idea protects you from reacting with anger and allows you to maintain calm. A practical exercise consists of mentally repeating every time someone tries to impose their vision. This is just a perspective, not the complete reality. This phrase works as a psychological shield that prevents words from penetrating and hurting you. What you achieve is to deactivate the emotional impact of the attack and remind yourself that your value does not depend on the gaze of the other. By doing this, arrogance ceases to be a threat and becomes noise that does not alter your peace. Another way to apply this practice is to use curiosity as a response. When an arrogant person says what you think is wrong, instead of getting angry, you can reply, "Interesting, why do you see it that way?" With that question, you transform what seemed like an attack into a space for reflection. You are not accepting their opinion as truth, but you are also not rejecting it in a hostile way. You simply remind the other person, without saying it directly, that their vision is just one among many possible. The Stoics taught us to distinguish what is in our control from what is not. The opinion of another person will never be under your domain, but your reaction to it is. If you understand that each vision is relative, you avoid wearing yourself out trying to convince someone who does not want to listen. The advice is to choose your battles wisely. Not all opinions deserve a response, and often the best move is to move on without getting hooked. Think about it in everyday terms. Maybe someone at your job says that your way of solving a problem is incorrect. Instead of taking it as a personal attack, you can see it for what it is, a different perspective. It may contribute something useful, it may not. But in both cases, you maintain your power because you do not let that opinion determine your value. The practice also consists of reminding yourself that you too have opinions that are not absolute truths. Recognizing this makes you more humble and helps you not to fall into the same game as those who try to impose their ideas. From that awareness, every time an arrogant person tries to impose their vision, you can respond firmly but without hatred, clearly but without the need to demonstrate superiority. Remembering that every opinion is relative allows you to let go of the unnecessary weight of wanting to convince everyone. It gives you freedom to keep your center intact even when others speak with arrogance. And most importantly, it grants you the serenity of not feeling threatened by loud voices. Because in the end, the sky does not change according to who looks at it, and you should not change your essence according to the opinions of others. 5. Expose the hidden fragility. Glass may seem hard and shiny, but a precise blow is enough to reveal how fragile it really is. Arrogance works in the same way. It presents itself as an impenetrable armor, but in reality, it hides invisible cracks that betray insecurity. When you understand this, you stop seeing the arrogant person as an impossible mountain to climb and see them for what they are, someone who uses noise to cover their own voids. The first key to applying this practice is to change your perspective. Don't be fooled by the tone of superiority or the gestures of contempt. Behind every haughty word, there is a deep fear of being discovered or questioned. By reminding yourself that arrogance is a mask, you automatically reduce the power it has over you. The practical advice here is simple. Every time you face someone arrogant, ask yourself what insecurity they are trying to cover. This reflection changes the dynamics because it puts you in a position of analysis, not of victimhood. Another strategy is not to react as they expect. The arrogant person throws their venom expecting you to fall into the trap of anger or immediate defense. But if you respond with calmness and firmness, you force them to show what they don't want to be seen, their discomfort. Silence, short and clear answers, or even a calm smile are mirrors that expose their fragility. You don't need to point it out directly, just maintain your center and their mask will start to crack on its own. You can also expose this fragility with intelligent questions. Instead of confronting, make them explain themselves. When someone says in a haughty tone, "What you propose is useless," respond, "And how would you solve it concretely?" This invitation to delve deeper often reveals the lack of substance behind arrogance. It's like hitting the glass at the exact point, not to destroy, but to show that not everything that shines is steel. A practical tip is to train empathy without falling into submission. Observing the arrogant person as someone who struggles with their own insecurities gives you an advantage because you no longer take it personally. You can even respond with phrases like, "I understand that you see it that way," or "It seems important to you." This way of answering does not exalt them, but it does not confront them either. What it does is expose the need they have to constantly reaffirm themselves. And the more they do it, the more evident their fragility becomes. The Stoics talked about seeing things as they are, without adornments. Applying this teaching in the face of arrogance is to recognize that behind pride there is weakness. Once you have this clear, your reaction changes, because instead of feeling intimidated, you start to see the scene with perspective. The practice then is not about humiliating the other, but about maintaining the calm that shows what is behind their facade. In everyday situations, you can use this principle to stand firm. Imagine a co-worker who boasts of knowing everything and tries to make you look inferior. If you fall into their game, you lose. If you laugh calmly, if you respond with an interesting and move on, the mask becomes heavy for them. Little by little, people notice that their confidence is only appearance and your strength becomes more visible. Exposing the hidden fragility does not mean attacking. It means revealing the obvious without the need to point it out harshly. Arrogance breaks itself when faced with someone who does not react with fear or aggression. 6. Calmness is your weapon. Fire needs oxygen to burn, but when the air is taken away, it goes out no matter how intense it may seem. This is how arrogance works. It needs your reaction to grow, and when it doesn't get it, it loses strength until it extinguishes. Calmness is that oxygen-free space that cuts off the energy of the arrogant and leaves them facing their own emptiness. It's not passivity, it's strategy. Because maintaining serenity in the midst of an attack not only protects your peace, it also exposes that the other person has no power over you. Calmness doesn't come out of nowhere, it's trained. When someone haughty provokes you, your first impulse will be to defend yourself or respond harshly. But Stoicism teaches that between stimulus and response, there is a space, and in that space is your freedom. The practical advice is to learn to expand that interval. Take a deep breath, count internally to 3, and remember that whoever manages to maintain control has already won the battle. This simple practice turns a moment of tension into an opportunity to demonstrate self-mastery. Another strategy is to use calmness as a mirror. In the face of a verbal attack, respond with a low and slow tone. Don't mimic the shout or the urgency, speak slowly, with firmness and confidence. This contrast creates an immediate impact because while the arrogant person loses control, you remain serene. The message is clear. Your balance does not depend on their words. Also, those who observe perceive this calmness as authority, which multiplies respect towards you. In everyday life, calmness also means knowing when to speak and when to be silent. Not every provocation deserves a response. Sometimes the most powerful thing is to remain silent and firm, because the arrogant person expects war and finds a wall of serenity. This absence of confrontation disarms them, forces them to face their own noise, and exposes them to others. Practicing this requires discipline, but every time you achieve it, you strengthen your character. A useful tip is to practice calmness in small, everyday situations. When someone cuts you off in traffic or a stranger speaks to you harshly, take that moment to to train your patience. If you can maintain control in the simple things, you will be prepared to do so when the provocation is greater. Calmness is a muscle that strengthens with each exercise, and over time, it becomes your most reliable weapon. The Stoics repeated that you cannot control what others do, but you can always control how you respond. Applying this principle with arrogant people is to become the absolute master of your reaction. And that possession is pure power, because while the other tries to manipulate you with shouts or contempt, you remain unshakable. In the end, arrogance wears itself out when it can't find a rival to feed on. Imagine someone at your job trying to ridicule you in front of everyone. If you respond with fury, you give them what they want. But if you maintain calmness, smile slightly, and respond with a clear phrase without raising your voice, the effect is devastating. You not only protect your dignity, you also make it obvious that their strength was just a facade. Calmness, at that moment, becomes a demonstration of silent superiority. Remembering that calmness is your weapon completely changes the way you face arrogance. You stop being an easy prey that reacts to the slightest stimulus and transform into someone impossible to manipulate. Serenity is not the absence of emotions, it's mastery over them. 7. Protect your inner peace. A garden does not bloom if you let pests that devour its roots in. That's why it needs boundaries, care, and constant attention. Inner peace works the same way. If you allow others' arrogance to invade your mind, it gradually destroys your serenity. Protecting your peace is not a selfish act, it is an act of survival, because without it, no external victory has value. Arrogance seeks to enter your emotional terrain, sow anger or insecurity, and your stoic duty is to firmly close the door. The first step to protect your peace is to learn to identify when an arrogant person is draining your energy. It's not just about what they say, but how you feel after interacting with them. If you notice fatigue, anger, or recurring thoughts, it's a sign that you gave up more space than you should have. The practical advice is to stop at those moments and remind yourself that your balance is worth more than any argument. Don't give up your tranquility in exchange for words that ultimately have no weight. Another key aspect is to set clear boundaries. Often, arrogance feeds because we give it unlimited access to our attention. You don't have to be available for every provocation or respond to every haughty comment. You can distance yourself, change the subject, or even withdraw if the situation warrants it. Stoic lesson. Dignity is not lost by walking away, it is strengthened. Protecting your peace involves choosing where to put your energy, and arrogance does not deserve a drop of it. It also helps to train the mind not to personalize attacks. The arrogant speak from their insecurities, not from your worth. If you internalize their words, you make them the judge of your life. To avoid this, use a mental reminder like, "This says more about them than about me." That thought works like a wall that stops the entry of their poison. This way, you preserve your center and maintain control over the only thing that truly belongs to you, your internal state. A practical tip is to design routines that strengthen your serenity. Meditating a few minutes a day, writing what you feel in a notebook, or even practicing conscious breathing are exercises that reinforce your ability to stay calm. If you train your mind in quiet moments, it will be prepared to stay strong in the midst of the storm. Peace is not improvised. It is built with daily discipline. In everyday life, protecting your peace also means knowing how to choose your environments. If you are surrounded by people who constantly seek to impose themselves with arrogance, sooner or later that energy affects your character. You can't always change where you are, but you can choose how you respond. Maybe you don't control what your co-workers say, but you can decide not to get caught up in their power games. Freedom is in that choice. The Stoics saw inner peace as the ultimate victory, because whoever preserves it becomes invulnerable to external storms. If you manage to keep arrogance from altering your state, then you have conquered a power that few achieve. This silent strength, is what inspires respect in others, because it conveys a powerful message. Your tranquility is not for sale, your mind is sacred territory. Protecting your inner peace is not about locking yourself in a bubble or running away from confrontation. It's about having the courage to say, "My calm is a priority." Arrogance feeds on the energy you give it, and if you don't give it, it collapses on its own. 8. Inspire respect with maturity. The sea doesn't need to raise giant waves all the time to show its greatness. Its tranquil vastness is enough for anyone to understand its power. Such is maturity, a silent force that inspires respect without the need for shouts or exaggerated demonstrations. In the face of arrogance, maturity becomes your best weapon because it breaks the cycle of confrontation and transforms tension into a lesson of character. You inspire respect with maturity when you respond without stooping to the level of the arrogant. It's not about competing in who speaks louder or who imposes their opinion, but about showing that your worth does not depend on these small battles. The arrogant live to prove, the mature live to sustain. The practical advice is to always maintain a serene tone of voice, speak clearly, and choose your words well. That combination creates a powerful effect, because while the other seeks to impose, you project real authority. Another key aspect of maturity is consistency. People respect more those who act according to what they say. When you face someone arrogant and maintain your principles without being dragged down, you are sending a silent message. You don't need to defend your worth, you demonstrate it with your behavior. Practice consistency in the everyday. Fulfill what you promise. Be consistent in your decisions and stand firm in what you consider correct. In this way, your mere presence becomes an example that disarms any attempt at humiliation. Maturity also shows in the ability not to fall into unnecessary provocations. Not all comments deserve a response, and knowing when to keep silent is a sign of wisdom. But when you decide to speak, do it with the strength of someone who doesn't need many words to be heard. A practical tip is to prepare short and forceful phrases that convey security like, "I respect your opinion, even though I don't share it." These types of responses keep your dignity intact and set a clear boundary. You inspire respect with maturity when you are able to separate emotion from judgment. The arrogant wants to drag you into their ego game, but if you keep a cool head, you can see the situation from above, like someone observing a chessboard. This distance allows you to choose the best move without being carried away by impulses. To train this, practice the habit of pausing before responding, even in simple conversations. This pause becomes a tool that gives you control in critical moments. Maturity also reflects in your ability to acknowledge what you don't know. The arrogant always wants to appear expert in everything, but the mature admits naturally that they don't have all the answers. This humility inspires more respect than any attempt to impose, because it conveys real confidence and security. Not fearing to say, "I don't know" or "I will look into it" is a sign of someone who doesn't need to pretend, and that disconcerts those who base their power on appearance. In everyday life, projecting maturity means choosing serenity over dispute, firmness over aggression, and clarity over noise. When you act this way, the arrogant may try to overshadow you, but all they achieve is to highlight your balance in front of their lack of control. Observers notice the difference, and that difference is what ends up granting you genuine respect. Inspire respect with maturity, not because you want to demonstrate superiority, but because you choose to maintain your peace and consistency, even in the face of provocation. Thank you for staying until the end of the video. If you watched the whole thing, comment, "I am Stoic," as our secret signal to know that you're a true student of Stoicism. Don't forget to subscribe and give the video a like if you enjoyed it. See you in the next video, and remember, keep cultivating your Stoic mind.